بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين، حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد. وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. قال الله تعالى في كتابه الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم، إنما يريد الله ليذهب عنكم الرجس أهل البيت ويطهركم تطهيرا. Respected brothers and sisters, I would like to begin by giving you all my condolences on the martyrdom anniversary of Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba alayhi salam, the second Imam of Ahl al-Bayt and the first grandson of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi, and the son of Amir al-Mu'mineen and Fatima al-Zahra, an Imam who was oppressed. We see that he was oppressed during his life and even until today. Until today, you see on his martyrdom anniversary, not many people show care and attention for the martyrdom of Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam, who in fact is greater than Imam al-Hussein. Because Imam al-Hassan, he was the Imam of Imam al-Hussein. So there was a time where Imam al-Hussein, he used to look at his brother Imam al-Hassan as his Imam. And the Ma'moom, the one who was being led, was Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. The life of Imam al-Hassan has many lessons in it. And if we want to analyze the life of Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam, we will see that his life can be divided into three separate categories, or three different times. There is one time, and that is from his birth all the way until the death of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi. And the second stage is from the death of Rasulullah all the way until the death of Amir al-Mu'mineen, the martyrdom of Amir al-Mu'mineen. And the third stage is the period of his imamah, which lasted for 10 years, from the year 40 after Hijrah, the year of the martyrdom of Amir al-Mu'mineen, to the year 50 after Hijrah, the year Muawiyah poisoned Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam. First of all, the birth of Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam was a big social event that took place, and that is because Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi, the Prophet, the Messenger, and the head of state, now has just received his first grandson after the migration from Mecca to Medina in the second year after Hijrah, or the third year after Hijrah. Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam was born on the 15th of the month of Ramadan. And this was a very important event that brought very much satisfaction to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi. Because Rasulullah, many of his own sons, they would die. He had Qasim, he had Ibrahim, they all died. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi was gifted Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam. And Allah tells him, "Inna a'tainaka al-kawthar." We have given you a progeny through Fatima. So the birth of Imam al-Hassan was the beginning of the progeny of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi. The first grandchildren of Rasulullah, the first of the millions of grandchildren of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi. It was through Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam. And the reason why I said millions of grandchildren is because the Sayyids, the Bani Hashim, they go back to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi. And one of the ways is through Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam. Imam al-Hassan, he lived the first 7 or 8 years of his life under Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi, under the protection, under the love, and under the compassion of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi. And Rasulullah used to show very much attention to his two grandsons, Imam al-Hassan and Imam al-Hussein. And Rasulullah was not being emotional and just showing love because he's a grandfather. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa was trying to send a message to the ummah. He was trying to send a message to the Muslims that Hassan and Hussein, they are the leaders of the ummah. And we have hundreds of narrations from the Sunnis and Shias where Rasulullah praises Imam al-Hassan and Imam al-Hussein. Al-Hassan wal-Hussein Sayyida Shababi Ahl al-Jannah. They are the masters of the youth of paradise. Al-Hassan wal-Hussein Imaman Qama aw Qa'da. Hassan and Hussein, they are leaders. Whether they are in a position of power or they're not in a position of power. Ahmad ibn Hanbal in his Musnad, he says, Rasulullah says, Allahumma inni ahibbuh fahbib man yuhibbuh. Oh Allah, I love Al-Hasan, so love whoever loves Al-Hasan. We ask Allah to make us from those who love Imam Al-Hasan alayhi salam. Ibn Abbas, he says, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa was carrying Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam on his shoulder. He had placed Imam al-Hasan on his neck, on his shoulder. So a man, he passes by Rasulullah and Imam al-Hasan, and he tells Imam al-Hasan, he tells him, Ni'mal markab rakabta ya ghulam. O young child, you are sitting on a very holy, on a very esteemed position where you are on the shoulder of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi, he replied, Na'am wa ni'mal rakib huwa. Yes, and he is also a great and honorable person. So the man just saw that Imam al-Hasan, he's lucky to be riding on the shoulder of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa. Whereas Rasulullah is an honorable person and he is worthy of being on my shoulder. Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam, he lived with the Prophet, and after the death of the Prophet, we see that everything changed against the Ahlul Bayt. The Ummah, the Prophet used to show so much care and attention to his children, to his daughter Fatima, to Amir al-Mu'mineen. Now you see suddenly the Ummah has neglected the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. Immediately after the death of the Prophet, there was an attack on that very household that the Prophet used to seek permission before entering. And the Ahlul Bayt, they saw that within one night everything changed. Everything changed. And another group of people, they come to power. And now the Ahlul Bayt, they are marginalized and they don't have a voice. And they don't have positions of power. They say that Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam, and this, in some narrations it says Imam al-Hussein, in some it says Imam al-Hasan. And the reason for that is because the Arabic language did not have the dots. You know, what's the difference between Hussein and Hassan? Is the two dots for the ya. The Arabic language, when it first began, until about 70 years after the hijrah of the Prophet, the dots were added. Before that, they did not add dots because the Arabs, they had an oral culture. There was an oral transmission of knowledge. So the hadith was not passed on through writing. It was passed on through hearing, an oral transmission of knowledge. So this is why you find some hadith, it says Hassan or Hussein. It says that one day when the first Khalifa, he came and he sat on the minbar of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi, Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam, who was a child, he comes to him, he tells him, Inzil min ala minbar abi wa jaddi. He tells him, come down from the minbar of my father and my grandfather. Of course, this was a very big event because Imam al-Hasan, he's the grandson of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi. He comes and he tells the Khalifa, get off the minbar of my father and my grandfather. So they wanted to test him. Was he What did Imam Ali or did someone send this child to come and say this? They come and they see that. No. Imam al-Hassan, he himself, he acknowledges and he understands that the rightful person for sitting on the minbar of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa is Amir al-Mu'mineen. Of course, Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam, he is also one of the narrators of Khutbat al-Zahra, the sermon of Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam. One of his progeny, Al-Hassan ibn al-Hassan, he narrates the sermon of Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam, meaning that Imam al-Hassan heard it and he was there. Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam, he was the main supporter of his father Amir al-Mu'mineen during the period of time where Amir al-Mu'mineen was pushed aside and was not given position of authority. Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam, he would always be with Amir al-Mu'mineen and always show support to his father Amir al-Mu'mineen. This is why the Muslims, some of them, they would show respect to Amir al-Mu'mineen for the sake of Imam al-Hassan and Imam al-Hussein. Some of them, they despised Amir al-Mu'mineen because Amir al-Mu'mineen, he had positions in the battle where some of the Arabs, they despised him because he had killed some of their ancestors and their families. But they can't say anything about Imam al-Hassan and Imam al-Hussein. Until the leadership of Amir al-Mu'mineen, Imam al-Hassan played a very important role supporting his father and being with his father Amir al-Mu'mineen. When the Khilafah came to Amir al-Mu'mineen after Uthman was killed, Abu Bakr ruled and then Umar and then Uthman was killed by the Muslims, they came running to Amir al-Mu'mineen, Imam Ali, asking him and begging him to take position of power. So after he accepts, there were some of the Muslims that rebelled against Amir al-Mu'mineen. 3 wars were waged against Amir al-Mu'mineen. The first was by one of the wives of the Prophet, Aisha, and Talha and Zubayr. And the second was by Muawiyah, and the third was by the Khawarij. Amir al-Mu'mineen, months into his Khilafah, now there's a rebellion. So now he needs support. So Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam, he goes with Ammar ibn Yasir. They go to Kufa and they bring thousands of people with them to support the army of Amir al-Mu'mineen in Basra, where the battle of Jamal took place. So Imam al-Hassan, he went to Kufa and he spoke to them and he tells them about the Khilafah of his father Amir al-Mu'mineen, and he gains support and he brings thousands of people to support Amir al-Mu'mineen. And the wife of the Prophet, she was sitting on a camel that was very protected. There were hundreds of people protecting the camel, and as long as the camel was standing, then the battle continued and Muslims were killed. More and more Muslims were killed. So Amir al-Mu'mineen, he says that as long as the camel is standing, the battle is going to continue and more hundreds and thousands of Muslims are going to be killed. So he says we have to bring down that camel. How are they going to bring down that camel? Amir al-Mu'mineen, he sends his son Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiya, one of the wives of Amir al-Mu'mineen, her name is al-Hanafiya. Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiya was known for his bravery, he was known for his strength. Of course, all of the children of Amir al-Mu'mineen, they were strong, they were brave. So Amir al-Mu'mineen, he gives Muhammad, first he tells him, I want you to be out in front of the battle. He tells him, you want me to be out and you're protecting Hassan and Hussein. Amir al-Mu'mineen, he was the Imam, but he was very careful to protect Imam al-Hassan and Imam al-Hussein. He would not send them out in the middle of the battle. So Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiya, he tells him, am I not your son? You're sending me out in the middle of the battle, but you're not sending Hassan and Hussein in the middle of the battle? He tells him, oh Muhammad, you are my son, you're like my right hand. You're like my hand. And Hassan and Hussein, they are my eyes. I protect my eyes with my hand. They are the children of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa through their mother Fatima al-Zahra. So Amir al-Mu'mineen, he tells Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiya, he gives him a spear. He tells him, I want you to go and kill the camel so that the camel comes down and the war comes to an end. he keeps going, and he sees that he cannot kill the camel. They say that that camel, it was so protected that around the camel there were hands that were chopped off, because they were holding the rope that's holding the camel, and they would keep defending and defending, and no one, it was very protected. Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiyyah, he comes back empty-handed. Then Amir al-Mu'mineen, he tells him, give the spear to your brother al-Hassan. So he gives the spear to Imam al-Hassan, and within moments he comes back with the spear dripping with blood. The camel has been brought down, and the war has come to an end. And the bloodshed has stopped, because he killed the camel fell, and the war stopped and it ended. So Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiyyah, he was upset, because he's brave, and he thought that he was going to bring down the camel. Amir al-Mu'mineen, he tells him, oh Muhammad, don't be upset. Anta ibn Ali wa hadha ibn Muhammad. You are the son of Ali ibn Abi Talib, and he, al-Hassan, he's the son of Muhammad. Meaning that he has, from both sides, from his father's side, he has inherited bravery. His father is Ali ibn Abi Talib, and from his mother's side, his mother is Fatima al-Zahra, and that means his grandfather is Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. Many times throughout the Khilafah of Amir al-Mu'mineen, people, they would come and they would ask Amir al-Mu'mineen questions. He would refer them to Imam al-Hassan, to show that Imam al-Hassan has the knowledge, and he's the grandson of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. Several times people would come and they would ask difficult questions. He would tell them, go and ask my son al-Hassan. Not because Amir al-Mu'mineen doesn't have the answer, but because he wanted his son al-Hassan to shine, and also Imam al-Hussein as well. He writes him a letter. He tells him, Ya bunay, oh my dear son Hassan, wajadtuka ba'dhi, bal wajadtuka kulli. I see, this is in Nahj al-Balagha. He says, I see that you are a part of me. No, in fact, you are me. Meaning, and then he tells him, if anything harms you, that would harm me. And Amir al-Mu'mineen was very careful to show his love and care for Imam al-Hassan and Imam al-Hussein and Sayyidah Zainab and Kulthum, because they were the children of Fatima al-Zahra alayhi salam. With the death of Amir al-Mu'mineen in the year 40 after Hijrah, Hassan alayhi salam, the Khilafah was passed on to Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam. But Imam al-Hassan, he inherited a very difficult Khilafah, and those who were the supporters of Amir al-Mu'mineen, they were not good supporters. Many of them betrayed Imam al-Hassan. One of them was the general of the army of Imam al-Hassan. He betrayed him. He goes to Muawiyah, he takes money from Muawiyah, and he tells Muawiyah that in the middle of the battle, Ubaydullah ibn al-Abbas, the brother of Abdullah ibn Abbas, he says, in the middle of the battle, if we start a battle with Muawiyah, he took money from Muawiyah. He says, we will arrest al-Hassan and we'll hand him over to Muawiyah. Many of those who were around him, they betrayed him. So, and Muawiyah had begun fighting a war with Amir al-Mu'mineen. Now Amir al-Mu'mineen died, and the war is still going on. Imam al-Hassan, he has soldiers, he has hundreds of thousands. Today, he is considered to be the 5th Khalifa of the Muslims. The Muslims, they consider Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, Ali ibn Abi Talib, and then Imam al-Hassan. They consider him the 5th Khalifa. But Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam, he saw that if he continues fighting with Muawiyah, he was manipulative. He would give money to this person and that person to bring people away from Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam. And he kept killing the Sahaba of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. He began the cursing of Amir al-Mu'mineen, Imam al-Hassan and Imam al-Hussein on the pulpits. So in order to protect the ummah, in order to preserve the peace, Imam al-Hassan abdicated. Imam al-Hassan, he shows the world that I am not going after power. Amir al-Mu'mineen never went after power either. The first 3 khulafa, they ruled and then they came begging Amir al-Mu'mineen. They were never after power. The difference with Imam Sadiq was never in a position of power. But he was an Imam. Imam al-Hadi, Imam al-Rida, all of the Imams. They did not have the official Khilafah, but they were Imams of the Ummah, because Imams to guide people, to do what's best for the community, to do what's best for the Muslims. And Imam al-Hassan did that. So he abdicated, and then Muawiyah, he took the Khilafah. He took the Khilafah, but Imam al-Hassan, he signed a peace treaty with Muawiyah, that after that Muawiyah stops the killing of the Sahaba, that Muawiyah does such and such, and after the death of Muawiyah, the Khilafah goes to Imam al-Hassan, if he's alive, or to Imam al-Hussein. What did Muawiyah do? Muawiyah died year 60 after Hijrah, so 10 years. Year 40 was the Amir al-Mu'mineen. Imam al-Hassan ruled for a few months, so Muawiyah has ruled for 20 years now. Year 60, he places his son Yazid. He broke the treaty, so Imam al-Hussein, now he has the right to go and stand against Yazid, because based on the treaty that was signed between Muawiyah and Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam. But anyways, Muawiyah, he saw that he has a treaty with Imam al-Hassan, and he could not stand Imam al-Hassan being alive. Even though Imam al-Hassan gave position of power, Imam al-Hassan was not even going after position of power, but because people were attached to Imam al-Hassan, people loved Imam al-Hassan, he poisoned Imam al-Hassan 17 times. Imagine, 17 times Imam al-Hassan was poisoned. Because as long as Imam al-Hassan was alive, Muawiyah saw that he was losing. He saw that the people were attracted to Imam al-Hassan. Muawiyah would wage propaganda against the Ahl al-Bayt. A man comes from Sham, he comes from Damascus to Medina, and he sees Imam al-Hassan, he tells him, "You are al-Hassan?" He says, "Yes." Then the man begins to curse at Imam al-Hassan. This is the grandson of Rasulullah. You guys, you say, "Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah." Now you come and you curse at his own children? So Imam al-Hassan, he's being cursed by a man who doesn't even know him, and he doesn't know the man. So the Imam alayhi salam, he tells him, كَأَنَّكَ غَرِيب. It's as if you're a stranger here. It's as if you have mistaken me for someone else. He tells him, "No, you're Hassan," and he begins cursing at him. Then Imam al-Hassan tells him, "You seem that you're a traveler. If you need a place to stay, come and stay with me. If you need food, we will give you food. If you need clothes, if you need food, whatever you need, come to us and we will give you." The man was shocked. The man began to cry. And he says, "Allahu a'lam haythu yaj'al risalatah." God knows with what kind of people He places in positions of power. You are the Ahl al-Bayt. He tells him, "I used to hate you and your father and your family. And now after that, after what you just did, I love you and love your father, and you have changed my life." Imam al-Hassan was known with his akhlaq. وَلَا تَسْتَوِي الْحَسَنَةُ وَلَا السَّيِّئَةُ ادْفَعْ بِالَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ فَإِذَا الَّذِي بَيْنَكَ وَبَيْنَهُ عَدَاوَةٌ كَأَنَّهُ وَلِيٌّ حَمِيمٌ. Imam al-Hassan was known for his generosity. He gave. They say that he gave his wealth several times. All of his wealth, he gave it in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Who does that? Only the one who knows and is certain that the wealth that I have is from Allah. So therefore it becomes easy to give. Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam, narration, on the 7th of Safar he passed away. According to another narration, on the end of Safar. And Muawiyah sent a poison and he gave it to one of the wives of Imam al-Hassan alayhi salam, the daughter of Ju'dah bint al-Ash'ath, the daughter of al-Ash'ath. He gave her the poison, and the poison was brought to the Muslims, to the Muslim empire, from the Romans. Muawiyah, he tried to get a very severe poison, so he sends a letter to the Roman emperor. He tells him, "I need the strongest poison that you have." The emperor replies to him, he tells him, "We have a poison, but according to our religion, we forbid it. We don't use it against people because it's so lethal." So Muawiyah, he writes back, he tells him, I'm going to be using it against the grandson of the one who converted the Romans to Muslims. The one who brought Islam to your land. So the Roman emperor, he sends the poison. And Imam al-Hassan was fasting. His wife, she betrayed him. And she received false promises from Muawiyah. He tells her, I'm going to give you money and I'm going to marry you to my son Yazid. After she killed Imam al-Hassan, she goes to Muawiyah. He tells her, I will give you the money, but I'm not going to give you my son Yazid. Because Hassan, the grandson of the Prophet, is greater than my son Yazid, and you killed him. So now I can't trust my son with you. She poisoned the Imam. He was fasting, and the milk that had poison in it, it entered into his body. He began to vomit. He began to vomit the blood until Imam al-Hassan passed away. Imam al-Hussein, he gathered next to Imam al-Hassan. Imam al-Hussein began to cry. Imam al-Hassan, he tells him, oh my dear brother Hussein, don't cry for me. I cry for you, for your day, la yawmaka yawmika ya Aba Abdullah, when 30,000 are going to stand and fight you. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah al-ali al-azim. Inna lillah wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. اللهم صل على